Beyond the Law of Attraction with Barbara Schreiner-Trudel. The Law of Obedience. I really love this law. It's really funny. When I first began to think about obedience or obeying anything, being the rebel that I was, it just made me cringe. I mean, the thought of having to obey anything was completely off the map for me. It was not in the realm of possibility. But what I've come to understand is that the law of obedience, the universal law of obedience, really requires that I live and move with the flow of the universe. Nothing more, nothing less. I have to be willing to go with what is. I have to be willing to be in life, fully engaged, and then move in the direction that it is actually taking me. The word obey means to submit to rule or to comply with orders or instructions. Obedience then is the governor of all movement, whether it's mechanical, literal, or spiritual. And so what we want to do here is recognize that this is actually a pretty profound thing. That as I begin to relax into life, and as I begin to go with the flow, and as I begin to live my life in a way that I am working with the laws of the universe rather than in opposition to them, what happens is my life actually is better. It's more comfortable, more relaxed, and more positive and upbeat. There's greater joy, happiness, and freedom as a result. What happens is when I go against the laws, I begin to block things up. I begin to suffer in some way or another. I begin to bring harm to myself and the people around me. I disrupt nature and all that's good and wonderful about it. But when I go with it, when I obey the laws and live within them, life gets easier. Imagine for a moment the law of gravity, which is a physical law. I mean, if I disobey it, if I go, oh yeah, well I don't care, it's not working in my life, and I stand on the top of a building and step off, well, you know what? I'm gonna break some bones, maybe crack my head open, maybe even kill myself, depending on how tall the building is, all because I chose to rebel against the law of gravity? Sounds silly, doesn't it? The law of obedience is exact. I have to obey the laws of the universe, or the law, because I think the law of obedience is an aspect of the law. As I begin to accept that there are laws governing everything, and I get an understanding of these laws, and I willingly begin to work with them in my life, what happens is I begin to shift everything that's happening. I begin to shift my whole consciousness around what is right and good and wonderful in life and what's working for me. And as I begin to shift that, I begin to create some beauty and harmony and grace, and life begins to flow easier. The things that I want to achieve in my life tend to happen much more quickly. The health, the prosperity, the love I want to have in my life, all of that begins to manifest in a way that is quicker and is in absolute harmony with my true essence. So what's perfect for me is not necessarily perfect for you, but by working with the law, I begin to create things that actually are in absolute harmony with my values, with my sense of self, and with my life overall, and also with my dreams, ambitions, and hopes. So what I'm saying today is that the law of obedience is actually a really important law, and it's really essential that we stop rebelling against the idea of obedience and begin to relax into what it really is. And what obedience really is that there is a law that's operating whether I like it or not, and I can rebel against it or I can go with it. If I go with it, my life is going to work. It's going to work, and it's going to work well. If I go against it, I'm going to be slamming up against the wall on a regular basis, creating discomfort and suffering everywhere I go. It's just a choice. You see, we're always at choice about what we want to do and how we want to come to life. And we can come to life with ease and with comfort or we can come to it with life being just difficult and hard in every moment. It's just a choice. So what are some of the choices that we're making? What are some of the choices that we are making today that are causing us to suffer? And I think part of it is not understanding that there are laws operating this universe and that somehow we're in opposition to them. We want to get out of that opposition and begin to relax into a place of acceptance and a place of understanding. And as we do that, it gets, life gets easier and easier, right? It's one of those things that once we know that the law is there and we begin to work with it, our life gets so much better, so much better. You can really see it with nature. Nature is remarkable when you look at it because it always just goes with what is. It always goes with what is. There's no tulips trying to be roses, no dandelions deciding that they want to be, I don't know, an elm tree. There's just this acceptance of what is. And even when something really challenging happens, something really difficult happens, nature works with it and recreates from it. So if you imagine a hurricane, for example, which creates great havoc in its path, the other thing that it does is it moves things and it shifts things and it actually makes for new growth. And it changes circumstances so that new life can happen. And so in the grand scheme of things, if we look beyond our own human perspective, what we see is that nature, although it can be so powerfully destructive, it immediately returns to a place of harmony and order without much difficulty because it does it naturally. It doesn't resist life. It doesn't resist what happened. It just takes what is and works with that. And this is what we need to learn. We need to learn to go with the law rather than against it. And when we begin to do that, what we start to see is that things go in a wonderful way. So, for example, if we're planting thoughts of worry, the law then obeys that and gives us more to worry about. If we are thinking about the good that's in our life and we're really, really grateful and we're putting all of that into the law, then the law adds to it. It obeys what we give it and responds to it immediately. And it can only give to us that which we give first to it. So the law is exact. It's going to obey us. And as we go with it and as we go in natural harmony with it, because I think the universe is good overall. I think it's good. And because it's good and because it's beautiful, if we will in fact go with it, what we'll do is create more goodness and beauty in our own lives. The fear of the future has become a really strong thing in our society, and it's affecting everybody. And as we begin to sort of succumb to that fear instead of the good that's in the universe, what happens is the law is going to obey that and bring us more because we're actually out of accord with its natural way of being, but it's still going to say yes to us. The universe always responds to us. It's never in opposition to us. It just goes with whatever we put into it, whatever we do. So when we live with love and joy and wealth and peace and harmony and gratitude, it absolutely works that way in our life. The law of obedience is exact. It moves and flows accordingly, and as a result, we end up with more of those great things happening and becoming more of our reality. So we're always at choice here. We can obey the laws that exist, or we can pretend they don't. We can know and obey the law of gravity, or we can go against it. Now, there's ways of working with it to overcome it, and we saw that through the whole aviation industry. You know, as people decided that there was a way of shifting so that man could fly, we created we noticed other laws that could be worked with that would actually overcome the natural tendency of the law of gravity. We worked with the law of gravity, and we found the law of aerodynamics, right? So what happens in our life is that when we obey the law, know that it's there, say, okay, here's where I am today, but I want to create something new. So I'm going to work with the law on what is, accept my life where it is exactly, and from here I'm going to build upon this and move myself forward. As we do that in a conscious and powerful state, what happens is we immediately begin to create something brand new that is truly, truly wonderful, and we begin to create from a place of our own determination, our own creativity, our own desires and passion, because within us we have this special something something that we need to give to the world. And the only way we can do that is by going with the flow of the law. Begin to get into the natural rhythm of the universe and let it carry us. Imagine we could do half the work. We could do half the work and achieve 3 times more. Why? By going with the flow. Rather than resisting what is, we need to relax into what is and move forward from it. As we begin to obey the laws of the universe, we begin to move in an orderly direction that is frankly exciting and profound. We begin to create in a way that maybe prior to this moment didn't even seem possible. See, the reality is that we are these infinite creative beings, and that life is only doing for us what it can do through us. And are we blocking it, or are we expanding it? Are we resisting the laws of the universe, or are we obeying them and going with them? You see, it's just a choice. We're always at choice. In each moment, we can decide to have a life that is full and warm and inviting and exciting and delightful, or we can be struggling. You see, whatever we do, the law is going to obey whatever it is that we put into it. What we bring to the law, it brings to us. And that's what we got to pay attention to. Is life working for you today? Is it the life you dreamed? Are you moving in that direction? Do you feel blocked in any way? And if you do, I invite you to move into a place of real acceptance of what is. Move into a place of real acceptance of this now moment. And as you do that, begin to welcome the changes that are going to come. What's happening in your life right in this moment is subject to change. And it'll happen quickly if you allow it. And it will happen slowly if you resist it. But it will happen. The key is living from your true, authentic self, finding who you are, right at the depth. What really makes you happy? What are the things that excite and delight you? We need to spend more time focusing in those areas rather than struggling with what doesn't work or what we hate. Rather than resisting something, we need to accept something, and that's going to move us forward. The law of obedience is exact. It will obey us completely, and we need to obey it completely. And as we're in that place, we begin to shift everything, and life begins to move forward at breakneck speeds. It's fantastic. Things move forward so easily and comfortably and joyously when we stop resisting life. There are laws operating in the universe. Do you obey them, or do you resist them? Do you go with the flow when your life is moving in a certain direction? Or do you stop yourself short and go, no, I should be doing this instead? I just about did that with this recording. I decided that I should stop recording and go do something else right at the moment. And what I realized was, I'm recording right now. And that's what I need to be doing. And I need to just go with that flow. We take the time to go with the flow when we work with the law, when we begin to move in harmony with the universe. What happens is our life begins to work for us. And it works in really, really wonderful ways. And it just gets better and better. And it keeps getting better. The reality is that we are the ones creating. And we can create in harmony with what is, or we can create with resistance. And life can be easy or hard. It's just a choice. What is it, the choice that you're making today? Are you willing to be obedient to the law, knowing that it exists, and allow it to move you forward? putting things into the law that you know are going to bring you greater and greater good. You see, it's always up to you. What is it that you dream about today that you are now ready to receive?